Welcome everybody to this In Conversation and Q&A with Margie Haber and her lovely dog in the background. Margie is a legendary acting teacher from Los Angeles. And in Hollywood, Margie is regarded as the go-to person if you want to get very good at auditioning and book the jobs. She is a successful author of 2 seminal books for actors. She's created an app for actors, and she is the host of her own podcast. We are so delighted that you're here joining us today, Margie, but I've got to be honest, I'm even more delighted that after all these years, you were going to be joining us as a guest teacher on our Next American Way program, which starts in October, and applications, everybody, they're now open. I'm just delighted. It's been a long time coming, this dialogue, Margie, so welcome to 16th Street.
I'm very happy to be here. And for those people that don't know, Kim is one of my favorite people, truly. So you know how, I don't know, sometimes you meet someone, right, Kim, and you just know maybe we were in a different life together. I think we were like either best friends or sisters or something, but that's how I feel about you. Always have, always have.
Thank you, Margie. I know when I spent time with you, Lois and Joan, there was a lovely kind of very easy way of being together. And I've always wanted to be Jewish, so there you go. That might have something.
Yeah, I used to have a Jewish star, but now I have a fuck on my chest.
Which
my book.
Exactly. Which is a nice segue very shortly. And, you know, we've got a very short window of opportunity of time with you. And so I've got a few questions I want to ask you. And that's the segue to your latest book, which is called literally F.K, Your Comfort Zone. So Margie, can you just tell us what motivated you to write this book?
Well, I'll tell you, Kim, I had written another book previously, a well-known book called How to Get the Part Without Falling Apart, maybe 20 years ago. And during the pandemic, I was I had a lot of time, like everybody did. And I stayed home and I Zoomed. I learned the word Zoom and I became a Zoom expert. But during that time, I started having the opportunity of looking at my own truths about myself. And so the book was written really for me to just to look at who I am. And then it became about after understanding that everybody has to know who they are before they could ever be anything in life. So first, the book is about know thyself. Then once you know yourself, you use it to create characters because you cannot create a character unless you know who you are. So the book is very, for me, it's very special because it made me understand who I am, and it made me, and I've reached so many people who have been challenged or have struggled and have found this book has helped them become a better human being. That's the most important thing to me.
Fantastic.
It really is.
You were very honest in the book because you spoke about your own anxiety and panic, and you said that learning to let go, which is the opposite of controlling, was what eased your terror. And I think with the soaring rates of anxiety in our world today, Margie, just talking a little bit about that would be incredibly beneficial, if you could.
Yeah, well, you know, we're all control freaks. Everybody controls in different ways. People think, oh, Margie's so controlling. And so is this person in a different way. So I have a wife, I'm gay, I have a wife, and she controls by cleaning everything all the time, making sure everything's clean, and then I lose my hearing aids because she dumps them in the garbage. And my son controls how many pictures I can take, and I talk about that in the book. So we all have our own. I think if you know where you lie in the world of control, only then, once you acknowledge it, and then you change it. So I didn't want to be controlling anymore. I go to Al-Anon, which is my wife is a sober alcoholic, and it's a very Al-Anon book for anybody who's listening. It's for people who have struggled with alcohol, as my wife has. The book has helped me to understand her, and I let go of control by knowing that I have to let go of my expectations. You know, human beings, we've never been taught that, Kim. We've never been taught to let go of control and get out of our comfort zone. We haven't. So to me, I wish we learned this I wish I had learned this when I was first a parent. I adopted my son when he was born, and I can tell you that I would have been such a better parent if I had understood that I have to let him grow his own wings. And that was very challenging for me because I wanted him, I love him so deeply that I wanted him to have everything. And so And by enabling him, he wasn't able to grow his own wings. I forgive myself, and I let go of my shame, and I realize that I'm a better human being now because I wrote this book. I'm just a better person.
I understand. You know, you speak about assertive communication skills, and you speak about that people, you know, often actors, they're afraid of causing waves, so they often remain silent when they could speak. And how do you think people cultivate assertive communication skills, not aggressive, but assertive?
Well, first of all, you have to find courage, right? You have to know that you have the right to take up your space. The problem is we didn't understand that when you do it aggressively, then you are pushing someone, and then therefore you don't have that right anymore. So I'm very much have always taught the I message, and by sharing, I am scared, I am sad, I am angry, rather than you are made me angry and you caused this to me, then someone's going to listen. You have to ask yourself, why are you talking?
Mm.
Do you want someone to hear you, or do you want to listen to your own voice? Sometimes I can get into, because I know who I am. I know myself very well. I can be very aggressive. And so when I hear that aggressive behavior, I go, that's not getting me anywhere. So now I teach what I teach in acting, what I teach in creating in life, this thing called stop, which is stop, take a breath, observe what's going on. Show, is it okay for me to speak? Proceed, and then go forward. For me, I wrote the book because I was afraid to be invisible. For many people, they're afraid to be visible. So if you know what your fears are, you take the book, and what's great about it, at the end of each chapter is a whole power challenges of what you can ask yourself and say, oh yeah, this is where, it's amazing what you learn about yourself and how it helps you to be a better human being and a better creator.
Could you talk a little bit about that permission to be seen? I'm like you, Margie. I've never struggled. I've never had to
Yeah.
ask for permission to be seen. So I really understand what you're saying. I've had to work on other things, but many people are really terrified of being seen. Can you talk about how somebody gives themselves permission to be seen?
Well, this is the book is called Fuck Your Comfort Zone, right? So if it's called Fuck your comfort zone may be to stay neutral because you know they're safe. You're safe, right? And it's you can't um do this fuck your comfort zone by just jumping out of it. You have to take sometimes you have to take baby steps, little steps towards it. I believe that all of us want to be happy. And I think being in your comfort zone, it doesn't always bring happiness, right? So if you look at your own truths and you say, I deserve to take up space, how do I do it? Well, there's techniques, there's breathing techniques, but most important to me is a story. I don't know if I put this in the book, I don't know anymore, but the story about when I was first asked to I did my first book, How to Get the Part, about falling apart, and I had to go on Entertainment Tonight, CNN, and I was scared shit. I mean, I did so, yeah, scared out of my mind. It's a great story. Oh, I'm glad you really read my book. And the story that's really amazing to me is I was so nervous. I said, put me on some kind of cable show, put me on a show that was going to be really easy, that nobody was going to see it. And maybe 2 people saw this cable show. And I'm sitting there and so I'm right here on a stool and I'm going, oh my God, I can't breathe. And I look behind me and all these questions are asked in pencil. And I said, I don't know the answers to the question. And then I started to feel like any second I was going to faint. I couldn't breathe. My heart was pounding. And then all of a sudden I said, what would Margie Haber do? I took a deep breath. I looked at the person in front of me. And I didn't know at that time what this was because I now understand it. I had empathy towards her. I said, poor thing. She looks like she's really not having a good time. She's very uncomfortable. Here comes the big line. Maybe I can help her. And as soon as I shifted the lens to helping her, all the fear went away. The fear goes away, everyone, just FYI, once you stop thinking about yourself. And so all my teaching that I teach, and that everybody that comes to my class at your place, or any place else, is always about taking a dance with another human being. because everything I do is relationship driven. So if you want to get out of your small box, you have to be willing to share with another human being and risk, because if you don't risk, you'll never really have intimacy.
That's the byline for the book, isn't it? Take risk and be the lead in your own life. So, Margie, so often, I mean, pain is a great equalizer. Often when we suffer enough, we say something has got to give, something's got to change, because if it works, why fix it? But things become no longer useful to us. Is there any way, do you think, you can kind of push the process along so people don't have to suffer so greatly before they're
Well, I do want to, you brought that up because I thought, for anybody obviously doesn't have a book, there is this piece, like it starts in the very beginning. I'd like to just, it's a very quick one, but it's called Forget the Supersize Small Victories Rule. A flag doesn't reach the top of a steel pole with one swift pull of the rope. You are the flag, and the rope on the pulley is your journey. The rope must drop lower and descend temporarily to raise the flag higher and then higher. Here's the big line. There is no upward movement without the opposite. I'm saying, right? We have times of setbacks, introspection, and reassessing the person we are becoming. It's how we learn and change through small victories that give us more insight and confidence to become the lead in our individual lives. Eventually, you will get there.
Yeah.
And I think that there's that each one of these bumps we go through are just make us a more complex human being. Everything I teach, everything I do now is connected to empathy and curiosity. That's it. And you become much more curious if you become curious about yourself, then you can become curious about other people. But you have to start with yourself first.
Yeah, agree. Many actors I've heard say that when they work with you, you are incredibly helpful, enabling them to be as real as possible in acting and in the audition. Can you just briefly touch upon your philosophy for acting and specifically auditioning?
Okay. So as you know, I've been teaching for 175 years, but I look damn good. I color my hair, and I've been teaching a long time. I've been teaching a half a century. It's shocking. I am a better teacher today because of my book, and my philosophy has grown through the years. I used to be a very famous cold reading teacher in the early days, and I taught all the people: Brad Pitt, Halle Berry, Heather Locklear, you name them, Vince Vaughn, Richard Hardacre. All these people came to me, and Kyle Chandler, and Kyle Chandler said, Margie, I don't know if you Kyle Chandler is one of my favorite actors, and he was on Friday Nights and Friday Night Lights and everything, Carol and blah, blah, blah. And he said, you helped me turn my cold reads into warm reads, because at that time, all I ever did was cold reading. And I had the market. Nobody else did this. And that was a long, long time. And then as the years went on, I too grew. And I no longer wanted to teach cold reading. I want to teach auditioning, which encompasses all, not just cold reading, warm readings, everything about auditioning. And then I became very famous in the area of teaching auditioning and working with all these, wonderful actors. And I have 14 teachers that teach for me now at my studio here in LA. But the past few years, Kim, I've shifted into teaching, into actually using the word create versus acting, that I teach creators versus actors, and that though I am an audition specialist, and though we will always be known as audition specialists in our studio, I teach people to let go of the control and get out of their technical mind, because they're not trying to book the job.
You're right.
And if you try to book the job, you can forget about it, because you're going to be miserable, because you're not going to book it.
Yeah.
You're too old, you're too young, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too black, you're too white, right? It doesn't make a difference. You will not book this job because only one person books it. So you have 99% of the people that are miserable. And I mean, that's the life people live as an actor. So when people come to me, and I have a really terrific master ongoing class on Wednesday as well as Monday. And these people they're series regulars. They're with me for years. Some of them with me for 10 years, but they've all been on Zoom for 4 years. And now we've Zoom combined with Zoom and being in person, because I teach so many people all over the world. People get up from Australia, it's 4 a.m. when they get into, they're that committed, and New Zealand and all over. they're all there because they really want to learn to create now, not just audition. They want to create. So if you let go of the control of booking and you learn to enjoy the process, you really love it, then here's my secret, and I believe it's for everyone. Kim, nobody can take away the joy of creating. They can take everything else away from you, but they can't take that away from you. So I have shifted the way I teach into the very much structure. I'm a big believer in structure, as we talk about in the book. Control is your enemy, structure is your friend, or I think could be your hero. I think there's something about hero. But structure, you have the structure, the 10 steps that I give you, the structure, but it's not linear anymore. It's not, you have to go 1, 2, 3, 4 for the 10 steps. It's not, because we don't learn that way.
Yeah.
It's much more, have a structure so you can be messy. So the essence of you comes through. So when, when I worked with that guy, Brad Pitt, like, a long time ago, it was, and I worked with him on Thelma and Louise. His playful child was what was fantastic. His essence of himself came through. It's my job to support actors, to get them to bring their stuff in a loving, supportive, but very, I don't want to say that I'd say I'm very honest. And you know exactly what you're going to get. I think it's important.
Yeah. You've got a beautiful way of describing acting. It's just a couple of phrases, but they're very evocative. They put me completely into my body, which is, instead of this thing of, it's create the life, and instead of playing a scene, you call it a slice of life. And there's something about that that's really, it's absolutely, it's visceral. I can feel something inside of me with those phrases alone. So can you talk about, when someone's auditioning, the place of imagery, imagination, sensory work, when they go in, and you often speak about you speak about in your book that it's also what's not being said in the scene as much as what's being said. Can you talk a little bit about that process when actors have the sides? And
yes, what I love about what I do, and I know it's shocking for me, I could be this old, but I'm 77, and I am never been, I've never been in love with creating as much as I am today. So that where people like to retire after 50 years, I love, it's my life.
Yeah.
And it's because of the growth I see that people go through. I mean, it's just it's a miracle. The changes people go through. And it's not because I teach them to get out of their technical mind into the creative mind. I don't teach anything technical. It doesn't mean you're not going to learn specifics in the structure of auditioning, but I don't teach, it's the way I teach it.
Yeah.
And so when people are learning to audition, I don't even use that word auditioning. I think auditioning is a terrible word. What does audition mean? What is the definition to you? What does that mean to you?
If you think of it in the pejorative, it's a sense of having to prove something, having to,
To test.
Not a very creative space.
Testing. It's a very, so I never say it. I don't say, now my studio says it. My studio, you'll call up, my actors will go, I want to study here because you teach auditioning, of course. And I have levels in my studio, from foundation to advanced to mine. But I don't use that word anymore because auditioning is scary. If someone said to you, would you like to audition? I would freak out. But just like I did when I was in that interview, when they, before in that casting thing, I don't think of it. I think, oh, wow, in 2 days, I get to live the life of this wonderful human being. You see, the problem with a scene, Kim, is if you're teaching scene study, a scene class, in my opinion, you're teaching a scene, which is an action and cut. There's the scene. But no, that's not life. I'm teaching you to be a human being. I don't want you to be an actor. I don't want you to act. I want you to be a human being. What does that mean? It's a continuum of slices. The slice that comes before continues into the slice here, which continues into the slice there. So there is no audition. There is no going into the room or on Zoom or self-taping, which I'm now become quite good at, where it's just a scene. So if you change the dialogue in your head to human words, things change.
Yeah. In Los Angeles, when actors test, they have the sides, the paper in their hands when they test. In Australia, it's less so. They expect you to memorize, but there are many actors listening now who I'm sure will have aspirations to go to Los Angeles. Can you talk about this technique, the Margie Haber, the Haber phrase technique? Can you talk a little bit about that, Margie?
Of course. Now, first of all, when you're doing a when you're doing a when you're let me start with this. The Haber phrasing is a choice between, you can choose between memorizing. You have to learn how to memorize. People think I don't want you to memorize. Of course you have to memorize. By class 4 in my ongoing classes, 1, 2, 3, 4, you have to be off book because you have to learn that too. But when you have someone, I have someone from Australia, Sarah Roberts, I don't know if you know. I mean, I have people from Australia. I know, I think, yeah. I remember she remember back in the time she'd say to me, Margie, thank God I have this Haber phrasing because I've got 4 or 5 auditions in one day. You know, my students, Amy, Brooke Williams from New Zealand, and Amy, well, all these Australians, New Zealand people that I've worked with for years. What do you do? Here's my question. If you come to LA and it's no strike, and you come to LA and you have 3 or 4 auditions a day, are you going to memorize it? No. And I don't believe in memorizing it first, because if you memorize it first, then you get solidified and stuck in the memorization pattern. Yeah. So I believe, that's my wife Susan passing by. I believe in making that last. That's your last thing. So you want to be able to create it first, and then you should start creating, you start to learn it, right? The Haber phrasing is not, I don't use the word technique anymore, because it's not a technique. It's not technical. It's a part of your behavior. So if my life here is the same as it is there, you don't care. So when my life is down here and I'm talking to you, it doesn't make a difference, does it? Because I fuck people and stare at them all day long and say, hi, Kim, how are you? We look away, we look at our nails, we come back and communicate. We look at our nails, we have a conversation, and we come back and we communicate. It's a flowing, very natural rhythm. And people that have the Haber phrasing, they are so relieved from the pressure. I had a guy, Rishi, who is he's on so many series right now. He's Grey's Anatomy. He's on every series you can imagine. A very big movie that's coming out right now. Something money, I forget. But I was in class one day. He says, Margie, I have a 17-page audition, and I didn't want to miss class. Will you do a private with me after class? So 17 pages, Kim. So he says to me, okay, got 17 pages. I said, okay, read it quickly. And they already gave the part to somebody, by the way. They just want to see if this person dropped out. Then they'd have Rushi. So if he went in trying to decide, okay, I have to get this job. God, I need this job. I get this job. It'd be a waste for him, wouldn't it? Yeah. But he loves creating. So he used the Haber phrasing. Nobody gave a shit because it's part of the behavior, and they loved it. Now the guy, he didn't get it because the guy took the job, but we don't go into self-tapes and Zooming thinking we're going to get a job. We're thinking, oh, I have an opportunity to create. That's it.
And also inevitably he's memorable because of that.
Oh, they hire him. Oh, well, he works like crazy, this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's changed that too. I can't say this. He's been with me for 10 years. He used to come into my studio, very closed, very shut down. Now he's like so open. We have this self-tape product that we have now. I'll send you the link and stuff, but it's a really good product. And he's on there. He talks about his time. He's a happy guy now, Rishi. And I tell you why. He's changed. He's not under that stress and pressure. He's enjoying the experience of it, you know, and that to me is more important.
And also, I think it takes the load off, this sense that if I don't get it, somehow my self-esteem has been dashed. If you have joy, that can sustain you through something. It's like anything. If you love being in a relationship, you'll manage the ups and downs of it. Margie, I've got a question because I'm very aware you're heading off to hear Dionne Warwick, which is so divine.
A house is not a home. Okay, fine.
All right, my darling, here's a question. What draws your attention towards certain answers. And by the way, if anybody else has a question, now's the time to pop it into the Q&A.
What draws what?
What draws your attention to certain actors? I think it's that thing called the it factor, the thing that actually makes you want to watch someone, or would make you want
What would make me, what would make me watch someone? Is that what
want
she's
to watch
asking?
someone, or ultimately, I think the actor's probably wanting to know what would make someone want to hire someone.
All right, so here's my job, and here is what makes people. I can give, as I do, the same slice of life to everyone in my class. And I have like 20 people in my class now. It's insane, it's bulging. And I can give you the same structure, and you're all going to be different because you are different. My job is to bring the essence of you out. And so what people are looking for, I mean, by the way, I have a great podcast for everybody. It's free to listen to my podcast. And I just did a podcast with Mark Measures, who's a very big agent here. And it's very interesting for all of you people to listen to. It's just Margie Haber, or Fuck Your Comfort Zone with an asterisk, F***. But I also have John Levy, who's a casting director, who's been the major American casting director for ER, for Animal Kingdom, for somebody I can't remember them all. But if you listen to them, they'll talk about the same thing I talk about. What was, I forgot the question then. Where was
Yeah, what draws you?
Okay, bringing yourself in. So the X factor is the specialness of you, and it's my job is to help bring that specialness up for you, not make you a cookie cutter, And if I see you and I go, oh yeah, I recognize you. Years ago, I think it was in 1970 something, I was friends with Beau Bridges, Jeff Bridges' brother, and his wife was in my class, and I went to see him in a show, and I'd been with him at the beach that day, and I went to see him in the show, and I said, oh, there's Beau. His persona was coming through. It's who he is, his specialness.
Yeah. I heard someone once say that Meryl Streep, although she transforms, there's always the Meryl Streepness in everything that she does. And there is
yes,
something.
And he also says something that's important. There's a germ or gem, I think it's either one, of every human being within us.
Yeah. So
the fact that I love to create characters, but start with yourself first and then expand from there. I'm not big on things like substitution. I must say there are different teachers that believe in substitution. I don't believe in that. I believe in personalization that grows into imagination, that your stuff is all special, but you got to find out from my book, Fuck Your Comfort Zone, right? What is your special stuff? And then you can expand it, or then you have to change it.
Yeah, fantastic. There's one last question, Margie, before we're going to let you go, because I'm acutely aware of your time.
4 minutes, like 7 minutes.
Somebody's just asked, can you expand on the Margie Haber phrasing? I know it's going to take time, but is there any way to expand a little bit more?
Can they see me? Can they see me?
Everybody can see you.
Okay. Let me show you. That'll make it easier. Okay. I'll read something from my book, and then you watch. If everybody watches me, my glasses on, I think, you can see how I'm going to do it. It's like I pick up any page. I'm just going to pick up something. And I want you to see, if you see how I've written all over my pages, don't everybody write all over your book, because it's really, oh, and my audiobook came out yesterday.
Did it?
My audiobook out now. Yes, it's out. Everybody don't buy the audiobook alone, because you need to read it. You need to sit with the paper thing. But the audio is fascinating because my students are in it and I'm in it, and Hamish is in it. So if you watch me, I'll pick something here. Okay. So if you watch my eye, can you see my eyes? Oh, okay, that's fine. Letting go. I'll do it to you. Letting go. The only way to remove control from your life is to let go. I can't control everyone's life. I can't even control my own. We can only do the best we can and let the universe take over from there. It's acceptance that frees us. I had a plan in place for what my life was going to be. I decided that I would marry, be a mother, and have 3 bright children. A famous actress and singer, and I would be happy forever and ever. That's my phrasing. So if you notice, it's just living the life here and then coming up here. And then, but when you do it like this, you go, if you say, this would be bad, okay? let's just say, she didn't see a problem with my vision. See, she didn't see a problem with my vision.
But I can
So
also
it's
see
really,
I can see what you're doing there, Margie. At the very end of an idea or the end of something, you stay very connected with that person. So it feels like it's coming right to me and it's landing. So it feels like it's for me.
and I'm watching you receive it. It's more
Yeah.
about receiving than just giving. So if I'm down here and saying the same was true for my career, I see you. Then I go down, I go, when I let go of my picture of who I was supposed to be, I found that incredible fact that I could do anything I ever wanted to be in life. So, if you life here, so it's so freeing, I can't tell you. I
And
don't
it,
know, it's evolved.
and it's not
Evolved into
distracting
something.
at all because you continue to live through something while you're down. So it never feels
Right.
like you've disconnected from me.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Never does. And it's used for public speaking. It's used for you getting up. It's used for anything. All right. What else? You got another person that wants a question?
I've got one last question that I think people often wonder about. I studied with Uta Hagen many years ago, and I'll never forget an actor walked up to Uta Hagen and said, Uta, do you think I should be an actor? Do you think I should do this? She was a tough cookie. She turned around and she said, honey, if you need to ask me, the answer is no. She was very, very clear. There are actors that are very tender of being and very, very sensitive, and they have this desire that lives inside of them. And some, for whatever reason, it's more unfettered, and they feel freer to explore it and worry less about whether they'll achieve or not, whatever. How do these lovely human beings who've got the seed of something inside of them that as a teacher you see, and I know I certainly see, what can they do, Margie, just to constantly become their own best cheerleader, which is what they say in AA, by the way, become your own best cheerleader? What can they do?
Okay, so boy, it's a big question. There's a lot of things I'd like to say. First of all, I want to say I am no judge of who's going to make it and who's not going to make it. And I would never, ever do what she said. I'm not first of all, I don't like bullying. And I don't care how, I mean, I'm a guru, but I'm a nice guru. And I would never hurt anybody. You can be a guru and you can be kind. And I would never tell anybody what they can ask for that question. People are scared. I mean, they're afraid. And you have to first, the reason, and I'm not promoting my book for this reason. I love my book, and you know this, Kim, because I think so many of those questions you're asking me are answered in my book. When I can take a look at myself and look at myself and stop being a rescuer and not stop being a victim and stop being a persecutor. When I can calm my critical parent down and raise my nurturing parent, right? And pull down my fearful child and be kind to myself, so many wonderful things can happen. You do this for yourself. You don't do that. I have a guy in my class. I have a woman in my class from Russia. She's been with me for 7 years. She's just now starting to work.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a guy in my class. He's an Uber driver. He'll probably never do anything, work or whatever, but he loves class. And it's not, and if you can enjoy, talent is a subjective word. Everybody has talent. Okay. Everyone, because you don't want to be an actor. You want to be a human being. If you can become a human being that's complicated, you've got talent. That's what talent is.
Say that last bit again.
If you can be a human being that's complicated, then you're talented, because what human beings are is fascinating. Human beings are fascinating. What makes you tick is fascinating. That's your talent. You have to be willing to share it. You have to be willing to look at it. You have to be willing to trust. It's a matter of trust. People trust me because I share my soul, and then I give them permission to share theirs. I am not any better than you are, and you're not any better than me. I'm just really good at this stuff. But everything else, I'm terrible at doing dishes and cleaning. Where Susan does the dishes and cleaning.
Margie, that was the most beautiful conversation. We packed a lot in a very, very short amount of time. Thank you for sharing your generosity of spirit.
Right.
It's incredibly appreciated, and we so look forward to you joining on the American Way, and then hopefully bringing you out to Australia in the not too distant
Yes,
future.
I miss it. I loved it there. I can't wait to go and see the kangaroos and all that stuff. God knows. Yes, and for everybody, listen, for all of you people that are listening, don't give up hope. And remember, you're doing this for you. You're not doing this for anybody else. This is one thing I say to my people, why do you come to class? Because it's for you. You don't come to class because you have to. I mean, there are people that are actors that are in England right now. I have this one woman who's on a series. She's mortified that she can't be in class. She can't wait to come back. That's the thing, is because she loves creating. I know, risk to create, enjoy the process of creating. Don't try to be an actor. Don't try to control anything. Don't be in your technical mind. I hope I'll see you when I'm there in Australia, or when I'm seeing you in this class that I'm doing with Kim. And if anyone ever comes to LA, please look us up at Margie Haber Studio. And I'd love to, and everybody, please get my book and listen to it as well. And I'm happy to sign it whenever I see you, whenever you come by. I love you, Kim.
Margie, I love you too, darling. Much, much love to you. Thank you, everybody, for
Podcast for
joining.
you, so we'll talk. We'll talk about the podcast.
All right, my darling. Much love, sweetheart. Thank you to everybody for joining. And thank you, Elise, Brenna, and Lachlan. Much love to you all.